Hey, it's the Odd Man. This video is about a trip I made to Michigan, primarily to go snorkeling on Shipwrecks in the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary. The trip from Maine to Michigan I made south of Lake Erie through Cleveland. While in Michigan, I went to Mackinac Island, I went to the Presque Lighthouse, I stayed in a county park on the shores of Long Lake. I went for a bike ride on the Rockport Recreation Area. I snorkeled on the John F. Warner, the Shamrock, and the City of Alpena wrecks. And then I spent a night in the Negwegon Park. For the trip home, I managed to get through all the COVID testing. I was able to cut through Canada, save a couple hours driving time, and here's how it went.
I'm looking over a four-leaf clover that I overlooked before. So far, the only place that's even gotten close to the canal is at those two locks, 17 and 18. I'm at 10.8 miles. I've never really gotten too much closer than to the canal than you can see there, other than that about a quarter mile at lock 18. Some of it's been quite unpleasant with all the traffic, but fortunately that was a minority. But it's starting to rain. The wind has been against me, strongly against me, so now I can turn and go downwind, hopefully beat the rain back to the truck. Well, the rain caught up to me. I'm only a couple miles back towards the truck. I got homesick, so I went to Maumee Bay in Oregon, Ohio. This is the Rockport State Conservation Area. Used to be an old quarry. This is apparently the old quarry. This one isn't in quite as good a shape. The northernmost point of Presque Isle.
For many of these wrecks, you can actually see them in Google Maps. This is the LM Mason. You can see the buoy, or the Marine Sanctuary has placed at the wreck, as well as the outline of the wreck. That was true for many of the sites I visited.
I am on the west side of Presque Isle, and just a little more than a half a mile, according to the GPS, from the LM Mason. This was one I'd identified that should be close enough to shore to snorkel. Access is kind of problematic in that I think I'd have to walk all the way down the beach. Because it's so windy, the snorkeling isn't going to really be fun.
So I skipped the LM Mason because the swim was so long and the access so difficult in the wind. One of the issues I struggled with for the entire trip was that access is very difficult. Virtually all of the waterfront is private land. The public access areas are quite limited. And as a result, I only was able to access 3 of the wrecks to snorkel.
Everywhere I look, private property, no trespassing signs. Story of my life. Another place where access is weird, but look at this. There's a house for sale, so I'm just checking out this lot. And I could go pound on this guy's door and borrow a kayak. That would probably be ideal, since you can see the buoy marking the location of the wreck is. I started at this park in Alpena. The Blair Street Pier is down there. These 2 buoys are the 2 shipwrecks I'm headed to. Kind of a long swim, 1/3 of a mile. And up there's the city waterfront. So here we go. This wreck out here is the city of Alpena. And I accessed it through a lot that's for sale. I did talk to the next door neighbors, happened to catch them in the street. So I'm hoping I won't get arrested or kicked off. This is not as big a swim. It's 0.1 miles out to the buoy, according to the GPS. Walking as far out towards the city of Alpena as I can. It already looks like the water's clearer. Those two wrecks I did yesterday, the Shamrock and the Warner, the visibility was a little disappointing. One guy I talked to said that there'd been a lot of rain here and that had kind of clouded the water. The conditions are a little rougher this morning. I pretty much need, for me and the buoy, at the same time to be on the top of the wave so I can see where it is. This is the access road to Negwegon, however you say that, state park. Well, this was a mistake. I bushwhacked up the beach, got tired of that, so I thought, oh, the trail's close, so I'll just cut inland and bushwhack there. But there's really no trail here, and when I look at the map, it looks like I might have been out on a little peninsula, which makes the trail quite a lot further. So pretty dumb, but I think if I just keep going, I should be fine. I'm sending a spot notification to my kids. This is the campground. It's called Bluebell. I have Lisa's tent set up. I really like it. There's an outhouse back in the woods. This is a much better developed campsite than I thought it might be. This park, there's only 4 campgrounds in it. They're all in this backwoods, undeveloped area, and there's hardly anybody here. All the campsites are full, but that's only 4 groups. I'm not really set up for hiking in. This campsite is 1.1 miles from the parking lot, so I just carried in the bare minimum necessary to sleep overnight here. That wasn't so bad. So I'm going back to the truck for meals. Typical meal. Cooked on the tailgate of the truck. One of those adventure meal things. Veggies and hummus, an apple, cookies. Pretty much subsistence living, but it works for me. 8:15 in the campground. Too dark to do anything but read now. This is a great place to camp, really off the beaten path and all dark. No lights, not like the street lamp I had out inside my tent the two prior nights. But not being prepared for backpacking kind of sucked, because look at this. I had to pack up all my junk and hike out the mile before I even got coffee. This is the waterfront street on Mackinac Island. There are no cars allowed on the island. I'm having lunch in this funky little cafe on the waterfront. Wow, maybe I should have brought my bike.
scheduled my COVID test as early as I could on Monday, September 13th in Alpena, but it was going to take anywhere from 1 to 3 days to get that back. So I went to Mackinac Island, and then I went to the Wilderness State Park. It turned out my test results came back in less than a day. I just barely touched base in Wilderness State Park, but it did let me touch Lake Michigan. So now I've touched all the Great Lakes except Superior. This is Lake Ontario.
It's pouring down rain here.
Not really, it's spray from the falls.
The Canadian side is much more developed than the American side. I'm staying at this cheap hotel, but it's close to the falls. Look how wet everything is. And as the sun comes up, we're clearly in the plume of the spray from the falls.
On the trip home from Michigan, I only stopped at one place to exercise, which was this Green Lake State Park. Very nice place, very steep, so the run I did was less than 4 miles, but it was a pretty good run. And I did about an 8-mile bike ride along the Erie Canal, and all these pictures and video are from the Erie Canal. This section of the canal is abandoned. It's not like the prior sections I saw that were still being actively used.
I'm going home.
This is the Odd Man, out.